The morning light filtered through the frosted windows of the office building like a thin, uneasy veil, soft, quiet, almost deceiving. Nothing about its gentle glow hinted at the storm about to break in one man's already fragile life. Rowan Hale had only been hired 3 hours earlier, and his hands were still trembling from the phone call he received minutes before the incident, the school nurse telling him his 8-year-old daughter, Mira, had collapsed during physical class. It was dehydration, they said, something minor, something children recovered from quickly. But Rowan wasn't reassured. Not when Mira had already gone through so many quiet battles he couldn't afford to lose, missed meals when money was short, silent tears at night when she tried to hide how lonely she felt without her mother, thin jackets during winters because he saved every spare dollar to keep their apartment running instead. As he walked through the long glass hallway looking for a private corner to breathe, the guilt pressed deeper into his chest like a weight meant to crush him. He needed this job. He needed stability. He needed to prove to Mira that he was enough, even if life kept insisting he wasn't. And that was when he took a wrong turn, one small, unthinking step that would shift the ground beneath him in ways he never imagined. Ripple of Love viewers, if you believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive. He pushed open a door, assuming it was another empty hallway or storage space. Instead, he stepped straight into the private bathroom of Celine Marlowe, the notoriously sharp, untouchable, and infamously cold CEO who had inherited the entire company at 28 and ruled it with an ice-calm efficiency that intimidated even the senior executives. For a split second, Rowan's breath stopped. Not because he recognized her, he didn't, but because he walked into a moment no one was ever meant to see. Celine stood in front of the mirror with her blouse half unbuttoned, her face pale, her hands trembling as if she had been fighting back tears moments before he entered. She wasn't the arrogant titan the employees whispered about at that moment, she was a woman clearly breaking under a weight she refused to show the world. When Rowan stumbled inside, her head jerked up, eyes wide with shock, humiliation, and sudden, blazing fury. And Rowan froze, mortified, terrified, instantly aware of the disaster unfolding. Celine's instinctive gasp echoed sharply through the marble-tiled room, and Rowan backed away so fast his shoulder hit the door frame. He apologized, words tumbling uselessly, but his voice barely came out. It wasn't her exposed vulnerability that made his stomach twist, it was the realization that he had just unintentionally crossed the most dangerous professional line imaginable on his first day. But there was something else too, something that flickered, hidden beneath her anger. Fear. Exhaustion. Maybe even pain. Celine recovered faster than he expected, snapping into her familiar steel composure as she pulled her blouse closed. She told him to leave at once, but she didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She didn't humiliate him the way rumors suggested she would. Instead, for the briefest second, her voice wavered, just enough for Rowan to wonder what was truly happening behind her perfect, icy facade. He stepped out, the door clicking shut between them, and leaned against the wall trying to gather himself. His heart pounded so hard he felt faint. His job was as good as gone. And Mira, sweet, hopeful Mira, would pay the price again. The thought crushed him more than the mistake itself. But the moment Celine re-emerged from the bathroom 15 minutes later, she wasn't the storm he expected. She wasn't shouting. She wasn't firing him on the spot. She simply walked past, her expression unreadable, her step steady, but the redness around her eyes was still visible. For someone who ruled her world with absolute control, something in her life was clearly unraveling. Rowan returned to the small workspace they assigned him, but concentration was impossible. His thoughts collided in chaos, fear for Mira, fear of losing the job, fear of making everything worse. And beneath all that, a strange guilt that wasn't just from walking into the wrong room. It was the guilt of seeing something raw and human inside a woman the world believed was made of steel. Hours passed. Celine's voice occasionally echoed faintly through the hallway as she instructed her assistant or discussed a meeting. Every time she walked past Rowan's cubicle, he avoided eye contact, preparing for the inevitable firing. But the firing didn't come. By late afternoon, Celine called him into her office. Rowan entered with the heaviness of someone walking into a courtroom, but her expression wasn't angry. It was distant, tired, and quietly conflicted. She asked him about the incident, and he owned everything: his mistake, his distraction, his inexcusable lack of awareness. He didn't make excuses, but when she asked why he had been so distracted, his voice cracked as he mentioned Myra's collapse at school. Something shifted in Celine's eyes then, just like earlier in the bathroom. A softness, reluctant but real, crept through her professional mask. It reminded Rowan briefly of someone who wanted to care but had been trained by the world not to. Celine dismissed him early so he could pick up his daughter. She didn't smile, but the gesture itself felt like a lifeline thrown to someone drowning. Over the next week, something unspoken formed between them. Celine's clipped professionalism remained, but there were brief moments, seconds really, when her walls slipped. Rowan noticed her hands shake when she read certain letters. He saw her pause outside her office door before entering, as if bracing herself. Sometimes he caught the distant, grieving look in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. Rumors whispered around the office said Celine didn't believe in mercy or connection. But Rowan was beginning to see small fractures, cracks revealing a woman who had been running from some unhealed part of her soul. Rowan's life didn't get easier. He still struggled financially. Mira still had days when she felt weak and tired. Bills still arrived with silent threats stamped on their edges. But every time he thought he would break, he found himself remembering that look in Celine's eyes, that hidden vulnerability that mirrored his own. And slowly, his presence began to change something in Celine too. She softened. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but in subtle ways. She thanked him when he handled stressful tasks. She paused to ask if Mira was feeling better. She even shared, one quiet afternoon as sunlight filtered through her office windows, that she had recently lost someone she loved deeply. She didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. The pain in her voice said more than words ever could. When the day finally came that Rowan expected to be replaced with someone more experienced, Celine did the opposite. She offered him a promotion, small but meaningful, along with additional hours and health benefits that would help Mira immensely. Just before the final emotional turn of the story, please comment below with your thoughts. Your words truly matter. When Rowan read the offer, his vision blurred with tears he fought so hard to hide. Celine stood in front of him, hands clasped, no arrogance, no coldness, just quiet sincerity. It wasn't pity. It wasn't charity. It was acknowledgement. Two broken people crossing paths in the unlikeliest way, offering each other something they didn't know they were missing. Strength. Compassion. A place to breathe again. Ripple of Love viewers, if this story touched your heart, please support it with your like, share, comment, and subscription. Your love keeps these emotional journeys alive. And as Rowan walked out of her office with the promotion letter trembling in his hand, he realized that life had a strange way of shaping second chances, that sometimes the most uncomfortable moments lead to the most unexpected healing. Celine watched him leave with a faint, softened expression, knowing that for the first time in a long time, she wasn't facing her battles alone. And Rowan, stepping into the warm glow of the setting sun, felt something he hadn't felt in years, a quiet, steady belief that tomorrow could finally be better than yesterday.